All right, it's Super Centex After Dark. We'll run through it real quick because I still have to finish my story. It's not quite done. Uh, so, uh, Chad, you look like you saw a little bit of a barn burner with Axtell and Valley Mills.
It was a good game. It was. I tell you what, it wasn't anything like that. I was looking through the scores, and what it was at Belleville Faith 148, Valor Prep 112.
Holy smokes!
You hadn't seen that yet?
I knew I had an email from Valor Prep. I had not looked at their score.
But for a little bit, it felt like it was going to be that kind of game because, well, first of all, Valley Mills started the game with a pick, almost a pick six. They got down the 1 yard line and then converted that into a touchdown. And Axel came right back and scored. And so it was like, it was kind of like that whole tennis match, whole serve deal for a little while. And then Axel, I think did y'all realize Axel has won 21 straight in the regular season?
I mean, they were 10-0 last
They
year.
were 10-0 last year. They won their last five in 2022, and they've won their first six this year.
That's a pretty good run.
Yeah, and so like in a game like that, you could kind of sense that they were like, okay, we might have some things that don't go our way, but we're gonna hang in there and make some plays. And the play of the night, Valley Mills had them backed up at their own 5 yard line. I think it was like a 3rd and 14 or a 3rd and 19 or something like that. And they throw a little dump off pass to Colton Horn. He shakes loose from some tackles in the middle, and then that little dude went 95 yards for a touchdown.
Mm.
So it was that made it 40-21, I think, and um, but still, Valley Mills cut it to six in the second half. So but it was still kind of a stiff arm thing because Axel got stopped a couple times, but they weren't going to keep getting stopped. They have too many weapons. Tyson Michael had a good night tonight. I think DJ had mentioned their backup quarterback AJ Fetch, um, and he was good runner and a good passer, and kind of managed the game and got the ball to Horn and to Michael and threw a nice touchdown pass uh, to another number 14, and I don't have my roster up, but I'll
Troy
get that
Arlett.
in. Yeah. Arlett. Yep, that's it. Yep. Uh, Thanks, DJ. So yeah, it was a fun game. Coach Horn was not satisfied with it at all. I pointed out that Valley Mills beat them in the playoffs last year, and it was kind of a revenge game, and he didn't really care much about that. So, uh,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Well, speaking of coaches who may not have been completely satisfied with a win, that sounds like perhaps what you experienced tonight out in Mart, Mr. Haig,
Yeah, well, out in Chilton, but yes,
out in Chilton.
yes, Coach Hoffman was not pleased. I mean, I could kind of get a vibe, kind of walking up to him, and I just was just kind of asking him, generally like, that looked like a tougher game for y'all than maybe you anticipated. I don't know, like I just asked him kind of what was going through your mind there, and I mean, the first thing he told me was we have internal problems, and I was like, oh boy, and
Here we go.
what
Buckle up.
what what he meant he doesn't mean like okay what he means is like there's some execution things that they're doing wrong, and I think there's also some, he didn't say this specifically, but I think there's a little bit of like boiled up frustration with some of these guys because and it's hard to imagine that like for a top ranked team, but they've had some tougher games this year, and in particular there was a moment in the third quarter where uh trying to remember the quarterback's name. He's a stud. Medlock. Yeah, Medlock. He was kind of getting beat up a little bit, sacked a little bit, and I think it was like a third down. They were deep in their own territory. He got sacked. And he kind of like just kind of like threw the ball like in frustration. And like Coach Hoffman had none of that. Like he was having none of that at that point. And he didn't play the rest of the game. Medlock didn't play the rest of the game. So,
I caught
and, yeah,
last week in the Bremont game, a kid came off and was like kind of throwing a fit, and one of the
yeah,
assistant coaches said, "Hey, you come back over here and so such and such, or you're not going back in the game. You
Yeah,
knock that off, or you're not going back in the game.
yeah,
And the kids, the kids in Mart, and it's hard to be a coach in Mart. I'm sure it's hard to be a player in Mart because the expectations are really high, and I'm sure they hear it. When they don't live up to it, I'm sure they hear it from a lot of people in town. A lot of rabid football fans and people that have a certain high expectations. The other thing, did they jump out way ahead and just kind of
yeah,
like
yeah.
um
So they
limp
in
home? Yeah.
Yeah, so they were up 22-0 with 3 minutes
Mm-hmm.
left in the first quarter, and I mean it's kind of one of those things where you're kind of looking around like, uh-oh, is this going to get
Gonna be
ugly? Is it
66-7. Yeah.
right? Right. I mean, like how much of my stat sheet am I going to fill up here with Mart offense? Like that's kind
I
of what you're
almost
thinking
thought they
early.
might have gone to running clock
Yeah.
because the game
No,
finished
right.
pretty early. Yeah.
Yeah. No, exactly. I mean, we were blowing through the first half, but going into that second quarter, I mean, uh, it helped that Chilton had this long drive that ended up in no points, but it kind of milked a lot of time off the clock. And but credit Chilton's defense. Like Chilton really kind of put their nose in the ground and put their hand in the turf and really made it tough. Really in the second and third quarters, holding them scoreless through that point. And but yeah, so they get out to that quick start and then kind of really stall out. And I think that's where some frustration may be built in. That's just me projecting a little bit. But yeah, no, that Coach Hoffman wasn't pleased. He said, a win's a win. Like we're still going to celebrate that. Like I'm not trying to, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I, I'm not trying to be mad about a loss, but he's like, look, if we're gonna get out to quick starts like this, because I think they even did that last week and kind of let their I think it was Maypearl or I don't know, I don't think it was Maypearl, but they played somebody
It was
recently where they
Bremont last
got
week.
out to a
Yeah.
quick start. It
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
Bremont, yeah,
They
and
were
he
up
said, yeah.
14-0. Yeah.
Yeah, basically what he was just saying is, look, like we know what the expectation here is. We want to go on a deep run, and if we want to do that, we can't just have these issues because a team is going to come back and beat us. Like that's literally what he said. Like we all know what's going to happen if we let these issues kind of encompass us, if you will. But yeah, still, a win, which is nothing to scoff at. But on the flip side, Chilton, which has struggled a lot this year, and obviously struggled mightily last week. Like that was from what Coach Hewitt told me, like that's a huge stepping stone for them. I mean, if you can compete with like they're probably not going to see a better team than Mart this year. So that's a
Mm-hmm.
huge stepping stone for them, a good vote of confidence, especially for some guys who are, probably ticked off. It's not fun to lose, but you can at least kind of find some of those moral victories in a performance like that.
I don't think Chilton's going anywhere as a program, but this ain't their
Nah,
year, I don't think.
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. Uh, you know, one of the reasons Mart is a program that wins and wins and wins is because it has high standards. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, uh, 23, 24 point wins or whatever it was, that's not quite enough in Mart, Texas. So, yeah, I think that's probably good that they're still wanting to play better, play crisper. Before we get to our resident concert goer down in Austin, who I was delighted to see that she was logging on. Um, I'll give a rundown of my game. So Midway gets a 27-7 win over Shoemaker tonight, takes care of business. I did tweet this out that Midway or DJ did not jinx the Wisenton brothers, who she featured this week. Landon got a nice pick in the end zone, ran it back about 30 yards. And Lathan, though it was kind of the passing game that really moved the ball a lot for Midway tonight. Lathan was getting the touchdowns at the end of those drives, and he had 3 touchdown runs. So, uh, yeah, they took care of
Big bounce
business.
back win for the Panthers. They
It
needed
really
it.
is because last week they gave up 34 points to Harker Heights. They had a lot of self-inflicted wounds, and Joe Gillespie really took that on himself and said, I didn't have us ready. Da 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 da. But he also wanted to see his guys play better, and they did. Shoemaker has this quarterback, Tyreek Wade, who is super quick, man. And like that guy ran for 160 yards tonight, and Midway just could not catch him at times. But ultimately, Shoemaker scores one touchdown, you know. Um, Midway picked him off 3 times. They still sacked him like 4 times. So that defense is getting it done for the most part. Obviously, the Harker Heights game was a step back, but this is a step forward.
Midway just does not excel at Leo Buckley Stadium.
Yeah, yeah, they've had some bad ones there. They'll go to Wildcat Stadium in Temple next week, and that, if you'll recall, was the site of the start of their run last year when they went on that surge to
Mm-hmm.
end
Yeah, that
the
the
year.
Wildcat Stadium is a different story for them. But Leo Buckley, I've seen them play below their standard a lot in that stadium before.
Yeah,
Okay,
well,
before
you
go
say
ahead.
you say Wildcat Stadium's a different animal. That said, this is going to be a much better Temple team than they
Well, yeah,
played
I mean it's
last
a
year.
tougher place to play. I mean, opponent wise, but I've seen some really good Midway performances there. Okay, so before we get to ACL Fest talk, I just had this thought. Back when I was a little kid, when I used to go with my grandfather to play golf. Uh, he and his buddies that played golf every day. They played a golf game, and you had a partner, and you were playing the other two guys and the partner. And sometimes when you got behind, like you got like 4 or 5 holes behind, or maybe on the back nine, you were fairly far behind. You pressed, right? You pressed, and that means you started the bet over, right?
Okay.
And I'm about ready to press on our high school picks, starting like maybe week 7. I
I
lost
just
another
keep
couple of games
rolling
to
out
Bryce and
wins.
one, huh?
I just keep rolling out wins. DJ actually early in the night had a game or two on me, and it was looking like DJ might win the week. And guess who came back and won the week? Right here, baby.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right
And
here. You guys can't catch me.
I was ready to flip my Meridian pick when I was started doing the capsule, but it was too late. I think for one thing, DJ did get the Covington Owls on us and the Dawson Bulldogs on us, though.
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm done picking Bosqueville. That's for sure. They've bitten me the last 2 weeks. I picked them against Itasca. I picked them again against Dawson. DJ got both of those right.
All
Uh,
right, well, let's hear about it. The
yeah.
scene
What
at
was
Joker
your
Park.
favorite band that you saw?
Before I get into that, I do want to say, look, I'm not hating on Bosqueville. It's just that
They got
a
a ways to go. They got a ways to
they've got
go.
a ways to go. They have a new coach. They just weren't really. I feel like there's a lot of holdover from last season, and they're also still pretty young. Like yeah, they got some upperclassmen, but they're still pretty young. And I also
They
like
have taken a step back offensively the last few games. Like they had 2 points tonight. They scored on a safety.
yeah. They didn't play anybody in
No,
the
they didn't.
non-district.
They didn't.
So
That's a
anyway,
good call.
tonight was really fun. I'm so tired. Like you think I would have
And you
given
got 2 more days, girl.
I had 2 more days, but I'm really excited. I got to see one of my favorite bands ever and Foster the People, and it was a great show. It would have been more fun if the guy in front of me wasn't like 7 feet tall and I had to keep shifting around trying to see the stage. But it was still pretty fun. And then Blink 182 is one of those bands that I like always hear is like great if you see them live. And obviously they hadn't been on stage in a while. So, but like when you see them play, you kind of understand why they're such a like historic, like beloved band for their genre. I
Is
didn't
Blink
see
182 a 3-man or a 4-man
there was
deal?
3 people. No, it was just 3 people up there.
Yeah,
It
I was
was
gonna
Tom,
say
Mark,
a
and
3-man.
Travis.
It's getting almost to where 182 is the combined age of the members of Blink 182.
Well
Yeah.
played. That's a good dad joke too, there.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really see a lot of bands today. We kind of just wandered around a little bit. This lineup wasn't as strong as previous years, but I kind of like being there because then I can just kind of relax and like, because in the last 2 years, I've camped out at stages the entire day just to see the people that I wanted to see. Um, so this was just kind of chill and,
Because
didn't really
you're getting closer to 30. You're
Now,
You're turning into an old woman. You ain't
with
got that stamina like you used to.
the
Uh, d-
7-footer, I got to say, it reminds me of a time that I went to see Wilco with the great John Werner and some buddies of mine that John referred to as the Wilco
The
Boys.
Wilco boys, yeah.
And so we got to Stubbs Barbecue nice and early and kind of staked out our spot and, you know, had a beer or whatever. And then Wilco came on stage. And just as Wilco was coming on stage, wouldn't you know it, like a JUCO basketball team just all moved in right in front of us.
oh man. I had the best dinner. I don't know if any of y'all have been to Baby Acapulco's.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. And I was disappointed because I thought it was going to be Mexican seafood. I'm like, how can you have the name Acapulco and not have seafood? Because Acapulco is a beach town in Mexico,
They didn't have
right?
any seafood?
They had like grilled shrimp if you got it like in fajitas or like in taco or something. But no, I got the al pastor bowl with like the charro beans and the Mexican rice and had some really good tomatillo sauce and their salsa was amazing and the drinks were good. So instead of taking a scooter or anything, we walked all the way back downtown from Zilker because the my buddy who was driving had a purple margarita, I think it's called, and he didn't finish it because like it was strong. Like he could
I've
feel
heard
it.
that too. I've heard that too.
Yeah, so but it was great. It was fun. I'm excited for the next couple days just to kind of experience some new stuff.
So you
So,
picked Blink 182 over Chris Stapleton tonight then?
yes. And then we left early, so we didn't see Chris Stapleton, but I did see this kid named Hudson Wood Woodbrick or something like that. I don't think that's right, but he was pretty solid, like really good, like young country artist. Um, and then I caught a little piece of Karin Leon, who's this regional Mexican musician who's also really good. I guess super popular. I'm kind of old school when it comes to a lot of like Mexican music because I just listen to what my parents used to listen to in the car. Um, and then obviously I've developed my own taste in a lot of ways, but yeah, no, I really love this festival. I could do without all of the um smoke, but it's it's really fun. I'm really dusty.
Hey, I
Um
mean, what is a concert without the hazy smell of beer and the pungent smell of pot?
All right. Well, now that we've heard about all the small things, how about that?
I didn't get to hear it because I'm pretty sure they closed with all the small things, but I did get to hear I Miss You, and it was great.
um, Monday, when you're writing your rewind column, you definitely got to follow up on that. That's just bananas. Listen to this score. Belleville Faith 148, Valor 112. I mean, that's a high scoring basketball game if it were a basketball game. I mean, I know it's 6-man football, but that's bananas.
I
You know what's
guarantee you they had very few plays from scrimmage in that game.
Well,
it's so impressive to me that Valor has kind of just stormed out this season after like this is their first year as a football program.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
They're getting
I,
it
I,
done.
I looked at that score twice because I thought, did they score 112 points and still get 45?
They
And
did not.
my
They did
math caught
not.
up with me a
They got
little
beat by
bit, you know.
36.
Yeah, so they didn't, but yeah.
Wow. Craziness. Craziness. All right. Well, y'all take care. We'll see you soon.
Good night.
Have a good weekend.